Did you know that everything in the entire universe is some form of matter? It's true. Anything that has mass and takes up space is recognized as matter. That means matter is everything, including your desk, your clothes, your food, and even you. All matter, however, is not the same. In fact, if we follow the flow chart shown here, we see that the matter around us can be classified in one of two categories: mixtures or substances. The term substance is fairly common and tends to be used with several different meanings in everyday language. However, in the world of physical science, a substance is simply a pure form of matter. In other words, a substance is matter that contains only one type of atom or molecule. Meanwhile, a mixture contains a combination of different atoms or molecules and is therefore said to be impure. Continuing along our flow chart, we see that pure substances can be further divided into two subcategories: elements and compounds. Elements are the simplest form of matter, which means they cannot be broken down into smaller components physically or chemically. All elements are listed on the periodic table, and there are at least 118 of them known to man. Examples of elements include carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and sodium, just to name a few. Compounds, on the other hand, are made up of two or more different elements held together by chemical bonds and functioning as a unit. While compounds are also pure substances, they differ from elements because compounds can be broken down into simpler components, the elements that make up the compound. Some examples of compounds are carbon dioxide, rust, and table salt. Let's discuss a few examples of pure substances. A sample of silicon consists of only one type of atom, silicon atoms. Therefore, silicon is a pure substance. Since these silicon atoms are in their simplest form and cannot be broken down any further, the substance silicon is also an element. Remember, an easy way to figure out whether or not something is an element is to look for it on the periodic table. Anything represented on the periodic table is an element and is therefore a pure substance. Silicon is number 14 on the periodic table and has the symbol Si. Sugar has the chemical formula C12H22O11. This tells us that it comprises 12 carbon atoms, 22 hydrogen atoms, and 11 oxygen atoms bonded together and functioning as a unit, which means sugar is a compound and can be broken down further into the individual elements carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Thus, sugar is a pure substance. An easy way to figure out whether or not something is a compound is to consider whether it has a chemical formula. Anything that can be represented by a chemical formula is a chemical compound and is therefore a pure substance. Water is a pure substance depending upon its variety. For instance, distilled water and seawater have different properties. Seawater contains H2O molecules as well as salt molecules and probably many other ions and atoms. Thus, seawater is considered a mixture. Distilled water, however, contains only H2O molecules and is therefore a pure substance. Since the H2O molecules in distilled water are composed of two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom, all bonded together and functioning as a unit, the pure substance water is classified as a compound and could be broken down chemically into the individual elements hydrogen and oxygen. A substance is simply a pure form of matter. In other words, a substance is matter that contains only one type of atom or molecule. Pure substances can be further divided into two subcategories: elements and compounds. Elements are the simplest form of matter, which means they cannot be broken down into smaller components physically or chemically. Compounds, on the other hand, are made up of two or more different elements held together by chemical bonds and functioning as a unit.